International students now limited to working 24 hours a week. New cap going to be super hard and stressful, with Toronto's high cost of living. Student says. That's why they are supposed to show proof of funds before arriving. Pre-COVID there weren't outcries about the hours. And back then it was 20 hours a week. 1 in 3 international student permit holders aren't even enrolled in school. Just working. Will this oversight be addressed? We've also gotten rather liberal with the post-graduation PGWP work permit, offering it to those who complete as little as an 8-month course. This is absolutely bizarre. If you are an international student, you are meant to prove that you can sustain yourself in Canada for the duration of your program without having to work. That being said, the government's proof of funds requirement is abysmally low and is a joke. The federal government, the provincial government, the colleges, the universities, many fake students, recruiters, brokers and immigration consultants have misled people, misrepresented themselves and straight up gamed the system to suppress wages for corporates while also setting up these people for failure in Canada. How can you seriously claim you're in Canada to study if you need to work 40 hours a week? That's a bloody full-time job. P.S. I didn't know Canada was the place to be for the very coveted credentials of brand management and public relations certificate. We should have similar rules to the States. 20 hours on campus only. Don't like it? Find somewhere else a little more affordable to study. I came to Canada to study. I worked on campus as a dishwasher to pay for the occasional night out with friends or going to the movies, etc. I enrolled in a worthwhile 4-year degree that ended up with starting my professional career in Canada. Going halfway across the world to never attend classes for your useless diploma while working 40 hours a week at Tim Hortons just to complain about cost of living sounds crazy to me. Tired of the entitlement of this international student class. Good Lord. It should be zero. The whole reason to be an international student is the education you're receiving, not as a backdoor immigration and local wage suppression system. I hope it's so stressful many of them think twice before coming here. Tell all your friends that we're full and respectfully fuck off. Sick of unfair wages and corporate greed. Workers are finally fighting back. The recent uptick in activity is a sign that workers and their unions are prepared to assert their right to strike in pursuit of better wages and jobs. Paywall bypass. https archive.ph/oi63 https archive.ph/oi63. In brief, asterisk for decades, unions' bargaining power was in decline, but that shifting political and economic landscape has provided unions with renewed leverage at the bargaining table. Asterisk after years of stagnant wage increases and defensive concessionary bargaining, unionized workers in retail, transportation, and other sectors of the economy are now seeking to regain lost ground, and are increasingly willing to engage in strike action to bolster their demands. Strike activity in Canada is rising. Between 2017 and 2020, there were a record low 328 strikes across Canada, compared to 1,111 and counting between 2021 and 2024. Asterisk while Canada's unions are nowhere close to reaching the record levels of strike activity witnessed in the mid-1970s, there's no question workers are showing increased willingness to strike in support of their bargaining demands. In short, workers are fed up. Wages will still be relative to those around you. Import more people willing to work for less and companies will still be able to say, see, we pay well. People are taking these jobs. We don't have a proper job or consumer market in Canada that adjusts as it should. We've manipulated it to keep the rich rich to our detriment. I'll never forget working at a popular chain gym as we went through the process of unionizing and going through bargain agreements. Pre-union, the conditions were terrible. You weren't paid for all the time you were there and were entitled to 0 paid sick days. Plus, the minimum wage you were paid not doing client work was considered an advance on future commissions. Once the union formed and these issues were brought to negotiations, suddenly a lot of these went away or were vastly improved. Company proceeded to send an email to all staff claiming that they were gonna do this without union intervention, which was hilarious. Without representation, companies will invest greatly into ensuring your compensation is as low as they can get away with while asking for your maximum effort. Until the Gov't decided your Charter of Rights means jack shit and says you can't strike and forces your union into binding arbitration, which is an immediate win for the companies. When an animal is in the corner, it fights back. Wages are only one part of the issue. Our teacher union in BC voted to accept a deal. But I thought it was terrible, but the problem is relative. If you bought your house pre-2020, then your salary at top of scale is great outside of Vancouver. But if you need to buy a house, you will need to save for decades. Now compare it to the 80/90s and it's even worse. A teacher then made the equivalent of almost double what we do today. Now add in we had like 80% reporting mental health and stress due to poor working conditions, and it just gets worse. But the province has no money to raise wages or improve conditions. Canada's transport minister to meet with Via Rail after passengers stranded 10 hours in Quebec. Isn't that just the Via Rail experience? Via Rail is terrible. It's shocking how often it's late, like gotta be at least 50% of the time. It's shameful how destitute Canada's passenger rail is. Of any country in the world, we should be the one that embraces the value of alternative transportation to driving or air travel. Where is the political will to make this country a rail transportation leader? I've just returned from a trip to Italy, and it's shocking how advanced their passenger rail system as compared to Canada. Yes, I do understand that Canada is a much larger country, but it seems that our railways are stuck in the past. No innovation. Just the same old, slow, tired service, and no one seems to care. Making a drunk driver the Minister of Transport was a cruel joke. Not 10 hours, but I've been stuck for 3 due to CN taking priority over Via. The fact that cargo takes precedence over people is insane. Cineplex says business is back, partly thanks to foreign language films from around the world. Hey Cineplex, get it together. Make a large pop and popcorn a combo. The entire combo. I don't want more candy, points for an online rental, or any other goofy stuff. Just put those two together and give me a discount on it. My local Sliver City in Brampton plays 60% Punjabi and Bollywood movies. Lol. Really? I thought they were making bank with $200 popcorns removed. When it seems like half of the people in urban areas are South Asian. Yeah, it makes sense. I myself will never step foot in a Cineplex again after discovering Landmark. It's just better value and much more comfortable. Removed. 5 emergency rooms close in interior BC over long weekend due to staffing shortages. Every 37 days BC adds 10,000 more people to the population. How many more doctors, hospitals, etc. are we adding to account for this? It's insane. Greater than. According to Interior Health, there were 28 service interruptions across the region this July alone, 10 of which were at Caribou Memorial Hospital in Williams Lake, greater than in 2022. Emergency rooms at 13 rural BC hospitals, including South Okanagan, Lillooet and Nicola Valley hospitals, ***, were closed for approximately 4 months. Combined, ***, wow. And we have hundreds of new immigrants lining up at Tim Hortons hiring events. As a healthcare worker, it would take a lot of money, bonuses to get me to work in a place like this. Far more than any provincial government would be willing to offer. Great areas to visit, I am sure, but living there is a diff story. Even if immigration was zero, these types of towns will have a hard time attracting workers, which is the issue they're dealing with. COVID decimated healthcare workers and their morale. That and younger generations are more likely to piece out of a job that isn't doing it for them and try something else, where older generations ended up being lifers. The NDP have invested billions into healthcare, including raising wages, but it will take 3 to 5 years to see the results of those improvements. BC has been poaching workers from other provinces now, but the number of people who use ERS has also exploded since COVID, so it's been a losing battle to get ahead. Despite all that, BC is still in the lead in trying to fix healthcare. Nobody wants to be a receptionist, or a physician, or customer service agent, GP, anymore.